Welcome to Lancaster Hi-Fi. I'm Stephen Lancaster. I'm going to talk today about the AR, or Acoustic Research XA turntable. But boy, I've done a lot to this turntable. Put on new cables, both signal and power cord. That involved rewiring in the interior, where I've also replaced the two capacitors that are in there. One, a snubber capacitor on the switch, and another sort of a startup capacitor on the motor. So let's go through this into the interior, where I replaced the capacitors, and then replaced the signal cable and the power cord. Took off the counterweight and the head shell and the main platter. This isn't liable to fall off. It's not fastened per se, but it is held in by suction. Similarly, there's enough resistance to this coming out that it's not a worry. Plus it's in there like that deep. Similarly over here, it's in there that deep. I was thinking about replacing this fiberboard with something else, but it's nice to have the original because it has all the original stuff on it. It's an indicator of originality. We've got the serial number, we've got the whole thing, and this is where the serial number is. So I think I'm just going to try to keep this. It's just got these 3 wood screws, and I don't know if you can tell from the video how the fiberboard is pretty compressed at the ends here. If I don't put on feet, the old just little felt pieces are pretty trashed. Just this. Oh geez, what I did not want to happen. People do just build whole new frames for these things. Not really looking to do that level of work on this, as long as this one is in reasonable condition. So I've rigged up a thing here to keep this from falling over. It fell over another time off camera. There are capacitors in here. There's one here on the motor, and there's another on the on-off switch. I think it would be a good idea to replace this one and at least check this one. Here we can close up on this capacitor. See the old tape there. I'll need to undo that tape. Should get that out of there. You can see it's connected up with these crimp connections. Here's the capacitor on the switch. That's a snubber. It's good to have a capacitor like that on a switch as a snubber, and it's like a bounce suppressor. That looks tricky to get out of there. Its leads are going back to the switch itself and sort of buried under where the other wires are coming in and out. Doesn't look too awfully difficult to get apart. It's all soldered. There's screws there. I could undo the screws to get that out from there. Then the wires go sort of under the screw there, through some tape, under that screw there, and then around up to here. This one, I think the prudent thing to do would be to cut these leads, slide that capacitor out of there, and solder the new leads to the old leads, rather than have to redo these crimp connections, which I don't have. I'm going to have to cut that tape to get that out of there. Let's see what we've got here. 0.1 microfarad, 600 volts DC, plus or minus 10%, black cat. Alright, so not bad, but out of spec. It's reading 120 nanofarads, which is 0.12 microfarads, which is 20% over, which may indicate it's leaking DC. So that's a bad cap. I will use film radial pulse single meta. I've got a bunch of these. These are good. Chemet caps. Anyway, they're MKP film caps. I think what I will do is go in and trim that insulation with the cutters. Get off just enough to where I can solder this on to what's left. I don't need to get that staple out of there. This being particle board, and there's always a possibility that if I try too hard to get that staple out, that I do some damage to the board. So I'll just neatly trim off the remaining tape. This is a 0.022 microfarad, 600 volt, plus or minus 10%. 23.5, so I'll call it 24, so still within spec. Original was 600 volts, I've got 560, and that's plenty. They're MKP, Chemet, X2 rating. Hey, you gotta match that voltage rating. Yeah, in general, but you also just gotta know what voltage rating is sufficient for a given purpose. There's never gonna be anything but 120 volts on this. It's just going across the switch. Its basic job is to absorb spikes, hard edges, abrupt changes resulting from switching. And it does need to be good because it's going across the switch. It's not one you want to short. So X2 rating is good for that. Putting the flux on there ahead of time allows me to simply blob a bunch of solder on the iron tip so that I can then hold this with something. In particular, I want to be able to hold the leads of the new capacitor with tweezers, partly to keep the joint in place and partly to sink the heat generated by the soldering iron to keep it from shrinking the shrink tubing. Beautiful. You know, these old RCA cables, well, it's just not nice. The metal's tarnished, dingy. With a turntable, you're passing such small signals, it is really important to have good connectors and good cable. Now, I just happened to receive this cable from Arylic P9 that Chris is trying to rehab, Hi-Fi Chris, and it happens to have these nice Nutric Profi connectors on the end. Just this morning I ordered a replacement AC cord. This one's also pretty old and ratty. Now, one thing I am a bit concerned with in doing these cord and cable replacements is that the cable and the cord just come out through, you know, this is weird here. I mean, it's original though. I don't think there's going to be good room through that gap for the new cable. I don't know about the new AC cord. I mean, obviously I could cut holes, right? I could cut a hole for this thing here. It'd be nice if I didn't have to cut holes. Strain relief here on the cable. Also, there's a knot in the cable so that it doesn't easily slide, so it won't slide out through there. And then the RCA cable, similarly, just has a knot in it, goes through a similar strain relief device, and connections are up here. A lot of turntables have a ground wire, this doesn't. But also the P9 cables don't have a ground wire, so that works out. Oh, interesting, there is a ground wire. There is a ground wire, it just goes to the shield of the left channel from the T-bar frame here. Similarly, the left channel ground end is connected to the main ground. So here we see the place where the connections are made. In particular, we see that the leads from the tone arm are soldered onto terminals on a terminal strip, and on the other side are crimped connections. We can see the red and white signal wires, and then we're going to have left and right ground and chassis ground. And we can see the chassis ground here going to here. And that's that third ground wire. right there. And on the other end, it's connected up to the shielding or the left channel ground. If we're going to connect that ground to the left channel ground, we're going to need to do it on this end. And I think that's effectively what's being done here. You can see we've got 5 pins, if you will. Might imagine a 5-pin DIN connector, the 2 on the bottom for the signals, right and left channel, then the next step for the right and left grounds, and then the top of the star there is connected to one of the signal grounds. I was just checking out the ground configuration here, and the ground is also connected to this metal plinth. I think that's metal. You can see that there's another ground lead going to that screw there that holds the plinth down. It feels metallic just in terms of its thermal conductivity. I removed one of the connectors. I don't have crimp connectors like those, but I can solder to those with no problem. And that might actually be a better connection. And this plasticized plastic, that's certainly not going to be big enough to fit around that. Trying to think of what I've got on hand that I could make a similar sort of strap with. And I came up with this sheet of butyl rubber. I've used it almost entirely for making rubber washers. I think if I cut a piece of this, the only question is whether that screw is going to be long enough to grip through 2 layers of this. If not, I can use a different screw. All right, here goes. Always want to be super mindful and careful dealing with wood screws in particle board. What is this, MDF? I don't know. Okay, so that's a pretty short screw, but anyway, we're done, we're free. First order of business is going to be to solder these ground leads to that ground lug there. My camera ran out of memory before I got to show you me doing this. I stripped just enough from the left channel cable, got the signal wire in there. I have not yet soldered in the ground wire. I've got just a clamp to hold it there while I'm working. Alright, check it out. Got all the wires connected, including the jumper from ground to the right channel shielding. My makeshift rubber strain relief in place. And now I'm going to need to cut a hole just big enough for the wires to get through in the back cover. And that will also function to some degree as strain relief because it'll hold those cables securely, I hope. That's the idea anyway, because there is some movement of those cables when I flex this, so I would like where they exit to be snug. I got the new RCA cables, but I was noticing a hum, and the hum would change when I reoriented the RCA cables. The way I've got the grounding, which was kind of experimental, is sometimes creating a ground loop. One thing I did was I twisted the cables together, and that helped. I'm going to go ahead and remove that jumper that I put in, which connects the right cable shield to the chassis ground, and instead put in a separate ground wire. I've got some nice hookup wire that's pretty much overkill, so that'll match nicely with these Riga cables. And I'll have to put a connector on the end, of course. So you can just see that jumper right there. Just a piece of wire. I'm going to remove that and then hook the end of that hookup wire to the chassis ground terminal here. Alright, jumper cut up, not removed, and ground wire inserted, and into strain relief. Okay, there we go. I've twisted the cables again, but now with the ground wire. And we'll see how it sounds. And now we have silence. I mean, as long as we want it. I don't know if there's a better way to do this, a more correct way to do this. so I'm just kind of making it up. I've never used this kind of cable wrap before. I've never actually used any cable wrap before. The nominal diameter of the cable wrap is much smaller than the bundle that I'm trying to wrap here, but it seems to be doing a pretty nice job of wrapping it. This cable wrap I just picked up at a local estate seller, liquidator, old Radio Shack, still in the package. Somebody bought it at some point and never used it, so it's effectively NOS. NOS gear. Just need to work it around the bundle. Can already pretty much dispense with this needing to use it to keep the bundle together, and instead I'll be able to use it to tie up the cable in a coil or what have you once I get this done. So that with the wrap I'll effectively have like a cable. Now there are advantages to doing this other than aesthetics. I'm going from Morgan Jones here. Essentially part of what I'm doing here is subjecting all of the cables here to the same environmental conditions. So to the degree that the amplifier is amplifying the difference between signal and ground, if they're picking up the same interference, then that interference essentially gets canceled by the amplifier. And so wrapping them up like this makes it more likely that any interference that the cables do pick up is going to be the same on every strand, if you will. Before I put in a separate ground wire, and I had the ground going through the shield or ground component of the right channel, when I moved the wires apart, I picked up a hum. Now I don't know for sure that that was a ground loop or it was picking up interference, and the interference was different between the two channels because the cables were farther apart. Effectively, I will be remedying both sorts of issues in that the separate ground line will mean that I won't get ground loops, and wrapping the cables up like this and twisting them together will also tend to eliminate interference or the effect of interference. And there we go. That's a wrapped cable, or wrapped cluster of cables. That is left and right channels and a ground wire. All wrapped up almost to the end, but not quite. I had to kind of guess about cutting it at the end. Obviously I should have left a little bit more, but that's fine. I want to do something about this not so nice cord. So I bought a new cord for power. So here's the situation. We have crimped connections. I don't really like those. I mean, they're good if done well, but they're easy to do badly. And I don't feel like I'm good at doing them well. I am good at soldering. What I need then are 4 connections. I don't even have connectors like that. So my thought is I'll put in a terminal strip with a wood screw and a washer. And that has 4 terminals other than the one that's connected to the chassis. And I'll just screw that in right here somewhere. And I think that'll do well. So there's the new cord and everything attached to the terminal strip that I put in. I hope you got something out of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, please give it a thumbs up. Please consider subscribing to the channel and giving it hype points, giving the video hype points. But mostly, I hope you tune in again. And if you do, I will talk to you later. Cheers. Then we have the AR guarantee. If the postal card section of this guarantee card is missing, you cannot be sure that you have a new unit. And the postal card section is indeed missing. We don't have a new unit. Oh.